Let me list the trigger warnings real quick. As drowning, being buried alive, cannibalism, bullying, and veiled mentions of homophobia. Reader discretion is advised. Alright, sounds fun. Let's do it. And it also has a sequel, so if we like it, we can play the sequel too. Let me open this bitch up. You forgot to change the screen, lovely. Hold on a second. Hold on, it's still opening. Thank you, though. You know me. I'm always forgetting. If it's gonna open. Can it open, please? There we go. Click on this, and then click on this, and then do some of this, and then do a backflip, and this. Perfect! Wait, it's not centered. Perfect! Alright, it's kind of loud. Hold on. There we go. Okay, is that too loud, chat? Let me know. Should I full screen it? Alright, sorry. Okay. Let's just get into this. Start. Honestly, it's probably going to take closer to 3 hours than 2 hours. You are running through a forest. Wait, I forgot to change the stream category. Okay. It is late at night and the sky is as black as pitch. There is nothing to light your way save for the moon's milky glow, but its rays cannot reach you, not properly. The trees which surround you, jutting out of the earth like eerie monuments to a foreign god, are blotting out most of the light. You cannot see where you're going. Even if you had commenced your flight at a more sensible hour, however, with the light of the sun to aid you, it would be of little use. You do not know where you're going. You have no map, no route, no plan. You are running like a frightened animal, anxious and nervy, with no destination in mind. You have no desire, as you run, save to escape. You cannot let yourself be caught. If that were to happen, you are certain that you would be ruined. I don't know how to feel about the implications of that. You have no choice, therefore, but to keep going. On and on and on, though your feet are screaming at you for mercy. You have no idea how long you've been running. Time has begun to blend together. It's lost all meaning. Something sharp snags at the hem of your skirt, but you do not have the luxury to pause and examine what has happened. Instead, you tug. Excuse me. Your skirt tears, the sound splitting through the forest, and you stumble forwards with a shocked gasp. You're free, but at what cost? Your skirt has been irrevocably damaged. Irrevocably? Irrevocably. Irrevocably. Whatever. It might be too late to worry about such trivial matters now, though. Hey, baby! Happy Valentine's! Happy Valentine's, Dad! How are you? How are the islands? I don't know if I should dox where you are right now. Thanks for the daily love letter. If you do not start running again, and soon, she will catch you, then your life will be over. You do not know if she's still following you, but you do not want to risk looking over your shoulder. If you were to see her, silhouetted beneath a tree, looking at you with that sickly sweet smile which once ensnared you, you would lose what little nerve you possess. They're beautiful. We're having fun. I'm glad I saw a little bit of the cat photos you sent when I was in the toilet earlier, like 10 minutes ago. Very cute. I'm glad you guys are having fun. I'm so happy for you. Your legs would lock up and your blood would freeze in your veins. Then what's the word I'm looking for? The difference between what's happening in the game right now and me gushing over Kira is kind of hilarious. Then you would crumble. You would fall, but you would not hit the ground. She would be there to catch you. Did she not promise, when you made that contract, that you would never be alone? You would like to take back that silly wish of yours, but it is too late for that. It is too late for a lot of things. All you can do is run. You run and run and run while icy fog swirls about your feet. It is cold enough to sap the heat from your body, and you shudder from it. It feels as though you are drowning. It feels as though you are being buried alive. Your knees and your shins, meanwhile, are bleeding. You cannot endure much more of this, but if you value your own life, you must. You run and you run and you run until, at long last, you reach a fork in the road. There are 3 paths which split off through the forest. Well, 4 if you count the path down which you came. You cannot exactly double back on yourself, though, not when you have put so much effort into running forwards. You can only press on. The 3 paths are signposted, which is something of a strange sight given you are so deep in the forest. Dark though it may be, you have grown accustomed to the shadows. You can just about pick out the writing on this old, dilapidated signpost, curved and slanted though it is. Your fate, if you will forgive me for sounding cliché, is in your hands. Now, I wonder, which path will you take? Go to the shore, go to the village, or go to the castle? Oh, now my model's showing me stemming with my hair. Let's go. We could go to the village for help. I doubt people will help us, but I wonder what's at the castle. I'm gonna go to the village. So, you want to go to the village? Good idea. Let us see what further trials await you there. The night is far from over, as much as you might wish it was, and there is still much and more to discover. I wonder what will happen next. You follow the path which leads to the village, supporting yourself on weary, aching limbs which feel ready, at a moment's notice, to snap at the knee beneath the burden of your weight. The soles of your feet are screaming at you. You need to lie down, and quickly. You only hope, as you continue to run, that you will find a suitable residence in which to rest at the village. You do not know what will await you at the village, but you have visions, as you run, of a quaint, scenic settlement, all thatched cottages with sloping roofs. Surely there will be a kindly peasant who will be willing to put up a young runaway for a few nights. You can imagine, too, the face of this kindly peasant from the fairy tales you read in abundance as a small child. She will be broad-shouldered and ruddy-faced, with dull brown hair crammed beneath a cap. Damn! We don't gotta go in on her like that. Her arms will be sturdy from many years of washing clothes and milking cows, but she will be kind to you and compassionate, just like a mother. You do not know what mothers are like. You hardly ever spoke to yours. You are only guessing. You are not a complete fool, however, despite your tendency to daydream, and you do have a few reservations. Peasants do not, as you know from your voracious reading, have much money, nor do they have much food. It might be hard to convince a resident of the village, even the kindly washerwoman of your fantasies, to take in a complete stranger. Still, you must try. That is all you can do, really. So you run to the village. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods, but finally you manage it. How much time, you ask? I cannot answer that. Did I not say that time had begun to lose all its meaning? The forest is behind you now, at least, and all the awful nightmares which dwelt within it. It is still cold, though, and still foggy. It is still dark, too. I wonder why this game doesn't have any contractions. The sun has yet to rise. I guess to make it sound more formal. You can see the moon more clearly now, though as it hangs above your head, round as any pearl or orb or crystal ball. The moonlight shines down upon the village, nestled among the hills like a diorama. Hope anew bubbles within you. You have finally made it. Surely not, but your salvation awaits you. You follow the winding dirt path to the village, looking this way and that. But your hope, such a precious, fragile thing, soon begins to fade. The village up close does not look half as welcoming as you imagined. There are cottages, yes, but they are in a state of disrepair. There are holes in the roofs and holes in the windows. Most of the doors are tightly shut, but others are gaping open, the kitchens beyond them even darker than the night sky which shrouds you. There are no lights on in any of the windows, and neither can you see any people, insomniacs like you, at them. You cannot hear anything, either, beyond the sound of your own footsteps and the low, mournful sighing of the wind. The village is quite quiet, eerily so. It is immediately obvious, even to a naive girl such as yourself, that something terrible must have befallen this village. You know before you try your luck at one of the houses that nobody will answer you. There will be no kindly, red-armed washerwomen to welcome you here, no matter how much you wish for it. But that does not stop you from wishing regardless. Your knuckles rap smartly against the wooden door. Your efforts soon prove, however, to be in vain. There is nobody here to hear your entreaties. How very sad. You try another door, then another, but the result is the same, regardless of how many doors you rap upon. Nobody answers you. How could they? There is nobody there. Once again, you have found yourself all alone. I could have sworn I just heard a zombie. Like a Minecraft zombie. That was so weird. Once again, you found yourself alone. At least you have found some dwellings in which you can rest your weary head. Will you utilize one of these cottages for your purposes? Nobody is here. You might as well. But no, an abandoned cottage is not what you're looking for. You would far rather have companionship, would you not? LOL, I'm playing Minecraft currently. Gem, I'm in your game. I'm in your head. I'm in your house. Bravely, you swallow your tears. You wipe your eyes with the back of your arm in a well-practiced motion, then inhale. You square your shoulders, and you keep on going. Surely the village cannot be completely deserted. There must be one person here, at the very least, who can help you. I doubt it. That is what you're thinking when you resume your search. You flit from cottage to cottage with precious little to show for your determination until you make yet another discovery. This village, with its squat, thatched cottages bathed in the moon's glow, has a church. Well, of course it has a church. The villagers who once dwelt here were not godless heathens. Not that their faith did them all that much good in the end. Still, the sight of the church soothes your overtaxed heart. You are so focused on your fantasies of a kindly washerwoman taking you in, you do not pause to entertain the fancy of a kindly nun doing much the same. All hope is not lost. You approach the church, which seems to tower over you despite it being so humble. When are we gonna get to the lesbian vampire? Is it a vampire? When are we gonna get to the lesbian? That's all I want to know. The church is a small one, but it is stout and sturdy. It must be, for it has withstood centuries, forever standing sentinel on this hill like a relic from a bygone era. The church does not have any stained glass windows, but it does not need them. Even without more luxurious trappings, the church still exudes an aura of dignified solemnity. The stone building is fringed by a sizable graveyard, one which occupies the rest of the hilltop and some of its sloping sides. The graves, which have been planted by generations of wardens, are hewn from a similar stone to that which the church's walls are made of. Some of the gravestones are shaped like lozenges, while others are shaped like crosses. A handful of headstones are even shaped like angels, though these are few and far between. There are very few people in a village such as this one who can afford such luxurious final resting places. You look at the tombstones with an almost childlike curiosity, forgetting in your examination of the visceral, heart-rending fear which gripped you as you ran through the forest. You are out of the woods now, and you have subconsciously already begun to relax. You try to read the names hewn into the myriad tombstones, but it is dark and you are tired, and some of these graves are very, very old indeed. You strain your eyes, but you do not have much luck in this endeavor. Oh well. Such superfluous details are not important. You eventually tire of examining the graves and turn. This graveyard is an expansive one, unusually so given the village itself is so small. How can it boast so many corpses? And there is much to explore. You walk about the perimeter of the church, casting your gaze first here, then there, then everywhere, consumed as you are by your immense, all-encompassing curiosity. And as you do, you see her. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought this was... Anyway. She looks like an ordinary girl, small and scrawny, just like yourself, but she is much, much more than her unremarkable appearance might suggest. For some moments you observe her, hiding all the while in the shadow cast by the church, like a furtive lizard clinging against a rocky edifice to shroud itself from the sun. There is no sunlight here, though. There is only the night sky and the stars and the moon. Beneath the moon's light, a silvery implement the girl is clutching shimmers. It takes you a few moments to see what it is that the girl is clutching in her hands. It is not until you see her manipulate it, its sharp edge biting into the earth, that you understand. It's a shovel. This girl is standing in an isolated corner of the churchyard late at night, and she is digging a grave. Well, you suppose she could always be digging a hole for the sake of it, but her work seems much too precise for this to be the result of mere whimsy. It is hard for you to see her face, given the distance between the pair of you, but her posture is one that speaks of supreme concentration. She moves slowly, mechanically, like a woman on a mission, driving the end of her shovel into the earth over and over. Her motions are regular enough to be repetitive. There is something hypnotic, almost, in the manner in which she attends this task. Should you risk interrupting her? Do you dare? You get the feeling that she would not appreciate it. The shovel in her hand, meanwhile, is rather hefty. If she wished it, she could cause you no small amount of damage with it. Cold anxiety makes your skin prickle. You do not know if you should risk speaking to her when she, in her dark cloak with her shovel, looks so very strange. But what do you have left to lose? You have come this far. It would be folly to turn back now. It is with this thought in your mind that you decide to approach the strange girl. Your footsteps are quiet. You have grown accustomed to slinking around like a cat, but they are not quiet enough. The girl's senses must be finely tuned because she blinks. Then she turns. Your eyes meet, and once they do, you feel your breath catch in your throat. You did not have a clear view of this girl before, concealed as you were in the shadows, but now she looking at you, you can tell that she's pretty. Her skin is very smooth, and her hair, though obscured by a dark hood, is very fair. Her eyes, meanwhile, are clear, cool blue, like ice. Those eyes of hers, which are large with unease, are fringed with very long, fair eyelashes. She looks as though she has stepped out of the pages of a picture book. She is simply too perfect to belong to this world. Perhaps she has some kind of vision, a waking dream, a hallucination. But no, she is none of these things. The shovel she is clutching in her hands looks solid enough, its pointed tip glittering wickedly in the moonlight. Oh my god, my throat is so dry. Hold on a second. You steel yourself, expecting perhaps some sort of outburst. But the tension soon drains from the girl's slender shoulders. Her fingers, which once were gripping the handle of her shovel tightly, relax. Her lips curve upwards at the edges. She is smiling, and what a smile it is. It is transformative. When she smiles, she looks radiant, angelic almost. Hers is a smile that is so suffused with light that your eyes begin to prickle from it. You are so relieved you almost feel as if you could cry. It would not be the first time you have wept during this night, and neither would it be too surprising if you did. You have been through a lot. You must be exhausted. The girl holding the shovel seems to realize this, because she bridges the distance between you cautiously, as one might approach a skittish cat. Then she says, in a rough voice which does not match her dainty appearance, "Well, she does live in a rural village. What were you expecting?" "Oh, it's so good to see another person. I was afraid I was the only person left alive, the only one in the whole world." Now this is quite the effusive greeting. Her introductory speech is riddled with exclamation marks. She is rather more personable than her apparel would make one suggest. You, a well-bred young lady, cannot help but feel overwhelmed. It is your turn now to be on your guard. Anxiously, you observe the girl with the shovel and you ask her what she means. What happened? Oh, do you not know? There is an awful lot you do not know, so much in fact it would fill a whole encyclopedia. No, a whole library. You shake your head, ashamed at your ignorance, and the girl frowns. You mustn't be from around these parts. I guess I should have known. This village is a small one, and everybody knows everybody else. The girl's expression falls. At least, they used to, back when there were still people to know. That ain't the case now, though, not after the plague. Oh my god, just like COVID. There was a plague? That would certainly explain why the village, when you walked through it, was so quiet. Did everybody else succumb to this mysterious illness? That's right, it's just me here now. I've not seen another human being in a long, long time. It gets so lonely here. Now that is an interesting turn of phrase. It catches inside your head like a burr. Have you heard it before? You do not have much time to ponder this, however, because the girl takes a step towards you. Oh, but where are my manners? They must have gone rusty after being on my own for so long. My apologies, miss. You look like you've come a long way. You said you were a traveler, yes? And your hands are very cold, just like ice. Would you like to come inside? Maybe have something warm to eat and to drink? My home's small, I'm afraid, and my food ain't nothing fancy, but I'd be more than willing to share. It's not every day another girl stops by, especially not one as pretty as yourself. I'm feeling very blessed. Smash. The girl laughs, a carefree, airy sort of laugh which does not match your initial impression of her. You thought when you saw her among the graves that she would be more distant, somehow, and more mysterious. Perhaps you are mixing her up with somebody else. You are still unsure if you can trust this girl, but her invitation is an appealing one. It is much more appealing, certainly, than spending the night outdoors in the cold kipping on the graves. What are you, a romantic poet? Please. To make a show of pondering the girl's invitation, at the very least, you do not want to appear too eager, but your acquiescence is, alas, an inevitability. Would you ever refuse her? She is the first friendly face you have seen all night. Without her, you would be all alone. Interesting. Dude, this is heavy vocab. I'm used to, like, Dead by Daylight subtitles. Your hostess leads you to a small, humble home located but a stone's throw away from the church, built in the shadows of a twisted, towering sycamore. The girl's home is in such a state it seems a folly to even call it a home. Hovel would to you be the more appropriate descriptor. But when your hostess leads you inside, her eyes alive, and she says, "Here we are, home sweet home," you don't have the heart to tell her that you don't find her home very homey or very sweet. That would be incredibly rude. As a guest, you ought to be more appreciative. Half-heartedly, you look around your newfound surroundings. The ceiling is supported by wooden jousts, and it is perilously low, not so much so that you are in danger of bumping your head, but just enough to feel claustrophobic. Oh, God. I don't know why I'm so out of breath. I'm not even doing anything. Okay. There's a fire in the corner, though it is not consigned to a grate. The fire, instead, is blazing in the open, a circle of logs set alight like a scene from a witch's kitchen. Above the fire hangs a silvery pot suspended from one of the wooden eaves. Other objects of interest are hung from the eaves: iron implements you take to be cooking utensils, various herbs, and strips of meat left to cure. The smell of cooking fills the air, mingled with the sharp, sour scent of unwashed bodies. How, you wonder, does your hostess clean herself? You do not see a bathtub anywhere. Perhaps she does not possess one. The girl's home is unremarkable in every regard, but it is, you suppose, better than nothing. Damn, we're kind of bougie. At least, I mean, I guess it's fair because there's no bath, but... Oops, I didn't mean to do that. At least there is a roof over your head and food to put in your belly. The girl looks to the pot suspended over the fire, which she gives a stir with the ladle. Then she brings the ladle to her lips to taste whatever concoction she has brewing within it. You can only hope that she is not, like the weird sisters from that famous play, brewing a broth with finny snake fillets. Never heard of it. Yes, I think this is just about done, the girl says, to nobody in particular. She sets the ladle down, back into the pot, then looks to you and smiles. Do you want something? It looks as though you've come quite the long way, and you must be hungry. These words are like music to your ears, even more divine than the trumpets of God's most loyal angels. You are so hungry you could eat a horse. Not that there are any horses in the immediate vicinity. You express your interest to your hostess, who smiles in response. Would y'all ever eat a horse? I feel like I heard that horse meat is, like, kind of tough. But I don't know if... Because they're, like, muscular, right? I don't know. I'm kind of a picky eater. I couldn't say. I guess it depends on how it's served to me. You express your interest to your hostess, who smiles in response. I thought you'd like the sound of that. Hehe. Just give me a few moments. Your hostess retrieves 2 earthenware bowls from a cupboard with rickety hinges, into which she pours 2 hefty helpings of whatever it is she's cooking. This she serves with bread, which is so hefty it could be used as a murder weapon. It's not much, I'm afraid. It's only soup and bread. It should take the edge off your appetite, though. Dude, okay, I have sourdough in my like a sourdough starter in my fridge, and I forgot about it. Like, I fed it, I think 2 days ago, and I forgot about it because I was gonna make bread with it, and then I never did. So I was supposed to discard half of it, but I forgot to do that, and then I fed it, and then I also forgot about it for 2 days, and I opened the jar because it looked like it was about to explode, frankly. I open the jar and so much of the bread just suddenly puffs up and expands that it starts spilling everywhere, and I'm freaking out, and there's like a sourdough starter all over the stove because that's where I opened it, and I have to move it over to the sink, and so now there's just sourdough starter all over the carpet in the kitchen. It was so chaotic. Kind of funny though. It's a sign I should actually do something with that. Anyway. It's not much, I'm afraid. It's only soup and bread. It should take the edge off your appetite, though. You thank your hostess for her hospitality, your stomach rumbling all the while. The soup does not look like anything you would typically consume, but the soup's poor presentation does not dissuade you. It is true enough that people eat first with their eyes, but when one is hungry enough, one becomes obliging enough to eat almost anything. Why else do you think that people, when stranded upon desert islands, will resort to cannibalism? Would you guys ever eat someone if you were on like a deserted island? Just like the horse thing, I think it depends for me. Cause like, are they already dead, or did they like die shortly after we arrived there? Because waste not, want not. You know what I mean? But like, if I'm gonna kill them to eat them, I'd rather be the one who gets killed because I'm already having a bad time. I can only go up from there. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. Humans are creatures of necessity. You like to wrap yourselves up in pretensions, but in actuality, you are not much better than animals. You are so hungry, your stomach is achingly empty, that you certainly descend upon your food like an animal. Your teeth glint, your incisors gleam, and soon you have consumed all that your hostess has offered you. Your hostess watches while you eat, and she giggles once you have finished. Did you enjoy that? Oh. You catch your hostess's gaze, suddenly abashed. You are so hungry, you fail to account for her judgment. Your outfit is so cute. Thank you, Jabby. Welcome in. Thank you for the daily love letter. Okay. Honestly, I needed that sip because this visual novel is drying my throat out. Okay. You were so hungry you failed to account for her judgment. Also, welcome in. I love you. Thank you for coming. Now you have some food in your belly, though, and you have been suitably warmed. Your old self-consciousness is returning. Did you not make a fool out of yourself? I take care of you. You do take care of me. You're the best. You're like a dad. You're like a daddy. Anyway, you demur shyly, looking at your lap, fearful all the while of what your hostess might think of you. You do not want her to take against you. Fortunately for you, however, and for your fragile ego, your hostess is not the judgmental sort. She is not like the girls you grew up with. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's nice to see my food being appreciated so heartily. Hehe. I know I'm not the best, but I've been practicing for a long while. I used to cook for my father all the time, you see. This remark catches your attention. Quizzically, you look at your hostess, your abashment over your animalistic eating habits suspended. What happened to her father? It seems a grim thing to contemplate after having eaten, but didn't your hostess mention something about a plague? Yes, your hostess says, her voice soft now and serious. That's right, there was a plague. And what of the villagers? What of her father? They're all gone now. Gone? Yes, you see, your hostess rearranges herself upon her chair, one slender leg folded over the other. Then she begins her tale in earnest. My family has a history. We've lived here for centuries, by the church, so's we can tend to the graveyard. Ah, so this abode is centuries old then. It would certainly explain the dirt. Damn, we're rude as hell! My father used to prepare bodies for burial. Oh god. Back when he was alive. I wish I knew how to read. Like, that's my biggest wish, I think. He built the coffins, and he dug the graves, and he lowered the coffins into the dirt. I know it might sound like an awful job, but somebody's gotta do it. There's no sense averting our eyes from death, not when it happens to the best of us. It's a noble profession, one that's been handed down in our family for generations. My father's father was a gravedigger, and so was my father's father's father, and my father's 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 father. Digging graves is in our blood. It's who we are. My, that was a surprisingly pretty speech coming from a girl who lives in the countryside, a girl who is without much in the way of education. Damn! We're a bitch! Like, what the fuck? It is apparent, just to listen to her and the way she slurs her syllables together, that she has never had any elocution lessons. Not like you. I feel called out. It is apparent... Oh, I just read that. There is a determination, however, to her, and a pride in her genealogy, which gives her a respectable aura. You cannot help but be impressed. So, you ask your hostess, does that make her one in a long line of gravediggers? Yes, your hostess, the gravedigger says. That's about right, though I was never supposed to be a gravedigger myself. It's not a woman's profession, that's what everybody says. My father didn't mind that, though. He taught me everything he knew, and then some. I might be a woman, but I have plenty of upper body strength. I can dig a grave just as well as my father could, without breaking a sweat. To the despair of my mother up in heaven, I'm sure. I'm sure if she were still alive, she'd rather I focus on more feminine pursuits, like basket weaving or sewing, or scissoring, to better attract a suitor. Not that that would do much good now. There's nobody around who'd court me, not for miles and miles. And what happened to her mother? She died when I was very young, during childbirth. I was only 5 years old. Oh, well, you can relate to her, at least, upon this point. Your parents are not dead, at least not as far as you are aware, but you have not seen them in an awfully long time. They sent you away as soon as you were old enough, and they never once bothered to check up on you. For many years, there have been no letters, nor any visits. You offer the gravedigger your condolences. You do not know if they will help, but you feel like you cannot say nothing. That would seem heartless. The gravedigger, however, does not seem too upset by this turn of events, because she smiles, albeit somberly. It's alright, it was ages ago. I don't remember her too well, and I've never really had the luxury of sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I had too much work to do. Around the house, you ask? That too. I was the oldest child, so it was my job, after my mother died, to manage the sweeping and the cooking, oh, and looking after all my siblings too. You blink intrigued and then glance about your hostess's humble lodgings. You do not see any siblings in the immediate vicinity. Uh-oh. Where could they be? The gravedigger must have noticed your roving eyes. You are not being exactly subtle, because she shakes her head. I had siblings, 2 younger brothers. They're both gone now. Oh. You should have known. I wonder how this girl survived the plague. You apologize to the gravedigger for your lack of tact, but she does not seem upset by this faux pas. Don't apologize, it's not your fault. My brothers weren't long for this world anyway. The youngest, he died when he was still a babe, and the oldest, he died before he reached double digits. I was upset about it at the time, of course, but I've come to terms with it. Life's a fleeting thing in this wicked old world. That's something you learn in this trade, digging graves, I mean. The cello is really pretty in the soundtrack. You love music. It is. I really like the music in this game. And it's really pretty too. I've dug graves for the elderly and the infirm, but I've also dug graves for the young babes still in their swaddling clothes. That's the nature of death. It comes for all of us in the end, no matter how old we are, no matter how much money we have, no matter how good or bad we've been. It's the great equalizer. Or so I've heard. A chill creeps down your spine as you listen to your hostess's speech. She is not wrong, but the inherent mortality of all humankind is not something you wish to contemplate. It is too disturbing. Oh god, death makes me so sad. Just because I'm gonna miss all the people when they're gone. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm scared of death though. I'm just sad because I'm gonna miss the person. Or like the dog. Like my dog's kind of old. I'm really nervous for when she passes because I've never experienced pet death before. I just know it's gonna hit me hard. It comes for all of us. You're right. It's not scary. It's just sad. For the longest times, my family was a small one. It was just my father and me, but that was fine. It was how I liked it. I was very happy, even if our lives weren't the best. I've never had any fancy clothes to wear, and we can't dine on the finest of foods. In the grand scheme of things, we ain't anything that special, but I've always felt otherwise. I thought that I was blessed. We knew hardship, of course, and famine, but that's just the way life is around here. When food supplies were low, we always helped one another out. I had my father, but I also had the rest of the village. We all looked after one another, and things always worked out in the end. At least they did, until the plague happened. Yes, she had mentioned the plague. You had been wondering when she was going to return to that topic. We're kind of bitchy. Like, we're kind of a bitch. Oh god. You suppose that the plague is the reason that the village, as you traversed it, was so very empty. You'd suppose right. The plague tore through the village. I don't remember when. It feels like it was a while ago, but maybe it wasn't all that long after all. It feels like I've been on my own for centuries, but... Your hostess's eyes begin to cloud over. Maybe she's a vampire. Are there even vampires in this game, or am I getting confused with the other one? Your hostess's eyes begin to cloud over. She looks as though she is entrenched within her own memories. What could she be remembering? You have never seen a plague before, though you have heard of them in your history lessons. Your history professor was quite enthusiastic about the subject. She talked about piles of dead bodies stacked up on the streets and stacked up in the wooden carts come to take them away with no shortage of aplomb. Aplomb? She was a strange woman, your history professor. Speaking of plagues, is the bird flu thing still happening? I haven't been paying much attention to it. I just know that everyone's kind of nervous. The plague came on very suddenly. There was no warning. One day everyone was fine, and the next... Oh, yes, it's bad. Oh god, don't say that. I shouldn't have asked. They were all dead. Just ignore it, Lamau. Just like I ignore everything bad in my life. Oh my god. It is with no small amount of anxiety that you eye the gravedigger. Then you ask worriedly, surely they could not have all died. Is that not an exaggeration? Oh, if only. I wish I was exaggerating, but it's the truth, honest to God. The people in the village died, one after the other, just like that. You don't go outside, so you'll be fine. I'm so sorry, I love you. I will be fine. Yeah, that's what saved me from COVID. That's what's gonna save me from the bird flu. Leave me alone, I'm a hermit. That's why you guys love me, right? I saw what that plague does to people firsthand. My father was one of the first people who caught it. I think one of the bodies which came through that we buried must have had it. Not that I know for certain. I'm just guessing. Still. My father didn't have an easy time of it. His skin turned all gray and clammy, and he complained of a horrible fever. There were night sweats and stomach cramps. And then there were the boils. Ooh, the boils? Pustules. They were the size of eggs, and they were full of pus. When they burst, it stunk. The whole house was full of it, the stink of death. The wise woman of the village came to see if she could be of any use, but it was no good. My father was far too gone already. She took one look at him, lying on his deathbed, and she shook her head. She said she didn't want to get any closer. Damn, savage. I can't say I blame her. It was a ghastly sight. I didn't appreciate it at the time, though. It felt like she was turning her back on us. I wished her ill, I remember that, after she left. Until a few days passed, and she fell sick too. Then I felt bad for cursing her. I couldn't help but worry if it was all my fault. It's silly, I know, but... So how does she not catch it? The gravedigger closes her eyes. She seems to squeeze her lids together until her lashes melt like flecks of fallen snow. Her shoulders, which are very slender, are shaking. She looks as though she might at any moment fall apart. Oh, I'm untrimmed. Oh god. Oh, my back, chat. Golly. It wasn't long after that the rest of the village fell ill. They all had the same symptoms as my father: the clammy skin, the fever, and the boils. The boils grew, then they burst, and then they died in screaming, stinking agony. My father died too, only 3 days after he fell ill, but I think even that was 3 days too many. I didn't want my father to die, of course. I did everything I could to help him, but it was all pointless. None of my herbal salves had any impact. I couldn't make a blind bit of difference. All I did was stand about his bedside, telling him it'd be alright, until his eyes sank into the skull like 2 black stones, and his mouth dried out. During that last day before he died, he might have been a corpse already. He didn't look at me, he didn't speak to me. He just lay in bed with his eyes closed, groaning. I'd never wished any ill on my father before, but during those moments, The gravedigger squeezes her hands, which are resting upon her black-clad lap, into fist. She trembles. Then, in a voice throbbing with awful emotion, she says, "I wish he'd just died." Well, based on her anecdote, it does not sound like she had overly long to wait. Once again, we're a bitch. Holy fuck. I wonder if she would consider that a silver lining. No, perhaps not. The gravedigger is still shaking. She will not cry, will she? You hope not. Damn. Awkwardly, you look at the gravedigger. You are not sure how to soothe her, but you know you must make some sort of an effort, even if it is a token one. You shift upon your chair, which feels very cold and hard beneath your thighs. Then you say very softly that you are sorry. It is not much, but it is all you can think of saying. I love crying. You do love crying. I also love crying. I wonder if this visual novel is going to make me cry. I doubt it. You had thought initially that your situation was comparable to that of the gravedigger, but now you can see that this is not the case. Her suffering has far outstripped your own. Not that suffering is a competition, of course. Your apology feels inadequate to your ears, largely because it is, but the gravedigger does not seem to mind it. She is very big-hearted, that girl, to smile at you so, no matter how foolish you might be. Do you really deserve such kindness? Oh, again with the apologies. It's alright, like I said, you didn't cause any of this. I'm not upset at you, I'm just recounting what happened, is all. I do wonder, though, why I never fell sick myself. I thought I was going to die, so I'd already prepared for the Reaper to come and take me away. But maybe he wasn't interested. Maybe he'd already satiated his appetite on all the others. That, or maybe he thought he'd have to leave me alive for practicality's sake. With my father gone, who else would tend to the dead? I was the only person left by the end of it all, so I had to bury the people in the village. They're all resting peacefully now, under the earth, where the plague can't reach them. On the one hand, I'm happy for them. They were able to escape from all their suffering. When I think about all the people I've lost, though, the gravedigger tenses. Then she sniffs. When I think about the kindly washerwoman who helped me scrub the mud and dirt from my clothes. Aha! So this village did have its fair share of washerwomen after all. It would seem your earlier insistence upon this particular point was not without merit. Read the room, girl! Read the room! And the handsome young farmhands who used to flirt with me. The priest who preached at the church, who told us wonderful tales of paradise, and the children who would skip stones on the lake and play hopscotch in the streets. I can't help but feel so lonely. The gravedigger's eyes begin to shine when she has finished her address with tears, but she does not let them fall. She is being very brave, much more so than you are. Anxiously, you extend a hand towards her, meaning to, what, give her a hug? You do not know her well enough. Pat her head? That would be infantilizing. Squeeze her hand? Perhaps that could be misconstrued as a romantic overture, and that is the last thing you want. Well, let's hold on now. Let's circle back to that last one. You endured more than your fair share of teasing over that. You sit there for a few moments, paralyzed by indecision, as the gravedigger poorly suppresses her sniffles. In the end, you let your arm drop back to your side. Your hand rests upon your lap, as useful as damp kindling. You do not know what to do with it. You do know that you ought to say something, though, to show that you heard her plight and that you care. You do not know what this something should be, however. That's such a mood. I never know how to comfort people. I kind of just sit there awkwardly like, I'm sorry. I hope that things get better. Like, what do you even say? I don't know. No words could ever console the gravedigger. They would never be enough. They can offer some balm, however, to the bereaved, and so, after a pause just long enough to be awkward, you offer your condolences. What else can you say? Oh no, the gravedigger replies, wiping a few stray tears away with the back of her arm. It's alright. I've grown used to it, really, being on my own, I mean. It ain't so bad, really. And I'm not alone now, at least. I've met you. You'll keep me company, won't you? Well, what can you say to that? Uh-oh. We have a new yandere girlfriend. You aren't callous enough to trample this poor girl's hopes, are you? You know full well yourself how awful that feels. You can do nothing but nod, a response which makes the girl smile more widely still. That's wonderful. I know you're just a traveler who's passing through, but I can offer you bread and board until you leave. I have food enough and a spare bedroom. I can make it up for you right now. You must be tired after your long journey. Just give me a moment. The gravedigger rises to her feet in a flurry of excitement, then retreats. You watch as she departs, a little too eager to please, and frown. The girl's home is a small, humble one with a low ceiling and slanted walls. You cannot imagine such a small dwelling possessing a spare bedroom. This so-called spare bedroom is, in all likelihood, the room her father slept in before the plague carried him off. You do not think that you would much like to spend the night in the room of a dead man, but what choice do you have? I mean, I feel like most rooms these days, someone has died in. You know what I mean? Like, unless it's a freshly built house. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out my ass. But honestly, like in a hotel and stuff, it's like really likely that someone has died in the bed you're sleeping in. Isn't that crazy? You are tired, wretchedly so. Why, it is all you can do to keep your eyes open. While you were running through the forest, desperate to escape your pursuer, you had no thought in mind beyond finding some home sanctuary in which you could recuperate. Now that you have found said sanctuary, it would be unreasonable to find faults with it. You ought to learn to be more thankful for what you have. There are many, many people in the world with less. Ooh. You rise and follow the gravedigger when she has finished her preparations to her so-called spare bedroom, which is every bit as cramped as you feared it would be. At least there's a bed, which comes as something as a relief. The rest of these lodgings are so humble you are half expecting a straw pallet. I thought we were gonna stop complaining. As tired as you might be, you cannot lie to yourself. You have no desire to sleep among the hay like an animal. The sheets of the bed are clean, too, a fact you discern with a cursory glance. So you will not be expected to sleep upon the sweat-soaked linen of a plague-ridden man after all. No shit. No shit. This really is your lucky day. I got you this, too, the gravedigger says, somewhat shyly, as she hands you a folded gown. To sleep in. I thought it might come in handy. Your own clothes are, a little shabby. She can say that again. Your skirt is covered in mud, and the hem is torn and ragged. This nightgown is one of my old ones, so it suffered a bit of wear and tear, but I hope it'll fit alright. It's clean, if nothing else. You accept the nightgown from your benefactress with words of thanks. Dude, I need to buy more nightgowns. The last time I had one, I was in like elementary school, and I love them. They're so comfortable, you know? You can shove them under your titties and you can still be covered, like from the legs down, you know what I mean? I think we as a society have foregone the nightgown, and we need to circle back. We need to return to our roots. You know, the nightgown, that's what your grandma got fucked in. That's why you're here right now, because your grandma wore a nightgown and your grandpa went crazy. You want to sound appropriately appreciative, but you cannot mask your fatigue. Weariness overcomes you, and you yawn, a fact the gravedigger does not fail to notice. Oh, begging your pardon, I don't want to keep you. I'll be making myself scarce. If you need anything, though, don't hesitate to ask. I'd be happy to help. She's so nice. She's let a whole ass stranger in her bed. The gravedigger bows her head to you like a drudge, then hurries off, closing the door behind her with a thud. Tired though you are, you soon find that you rather miss your hostess's company. In the face of her good-natured smiles, you can almost forget all of the hardships you have hitherto endured. In her absence, however, your lodgings feel almost unbearably cold and inhospitable. You suppress a shudder, then unclothe yourself. You work as quickly as you are able, but your fingers are cold and they fumble with the buttons of your blouse. It takes you more time than you would like to complete this endeavor, but you soon have your shirt and your skirt dispensed with. You are too tired to fold them neatly, so you do not bother to fold them at all. Instead, you cast them carelessly upon the floor, as defiant as a sulky child, then pull on your new nightgown. Your hostess's earlier warnings were apt enough. It is quite worn, but it fits well enough. It is more comfortable, at least, than your old uniform. You have endured worse. Newly dressed and ready for bed, you loosen your hair from your braids and settle down among the sheets. It is with a sigh you extinguish the weakly flickering candlelight which burns on your bedside, and with another sigh that you lay your head down upon your pillow. Though physically exhausted, you have to wonder whether you will be able to sleep at all. You can recall your previous dash through the forest in such vivid detail your heart is still pounding. That fear has yet to leave you. Perhaps it will never leave you. Your terror was such, it almost feels as though it has suffused itself into your bones, into your very being. But your exhaustion is greater than your worldly anxieties, and soon it claims you. Your eyelids fall shut, and your breathing, inevitably, begins to even out. It is not long until you are spiraling through the dark, deep abyss, lost in Morpheus's kingdom. But your sleep, despite your wearied state, is not as restorative as you had hoped. Your imagination has always been overactive. Even at the conservatoire, you are frequently beset by dreams of the most vivid nature. The dreams that you have this night, lying beneath unfamiliar sheets upon an unfamiliar bed, are no less intense than usual. In your dreams, you are back at the conservatoire. The place where this adventure of yours began. You are wearing the crisp white blouse you once discarded and your gray, unremarkable skirt. Your hair is tied in braids and your eyes are downturned, forever focused upon your feet. You try not to look at your classmates, and you thought yourself fortunate if they did not look at you in return. You did not want anybody to notice you, until that awful winter, that is, where everybody stopped paying attention to you for good. Nobody tried to trip you when you walked past them in the hallways. Nobody, in fact, so much as glanced at you. All of a sudden, there were no malicious whispers, no wicked laughter, no pulled hair, and no thrown objects. You were giddy with relief, at first, over this newfound means of tormenting you that your classmates have devised. But this little game, that of complete and utter disregard, continued and on and on and on, as the days grew shorter and the nights grew longer. As the time passed, you began to fret as to the state of your corporeality. Could anybody still see you? Did you even exist at all? Then, at long last, you found it, quite by accident, the source of all your woes. One of the girls had erected it in the forest through which you were sometimes bidden to jog for PE class, beneath the shade cast by an old oak tree. It was a makeshift tombstone, a small, meager monument made of stone, upon which one of your classmates had hewn a name. Your name. You knew at once, as you stood there, standing beneath the shade of that ancient tree, that this was the reason behind your classmates' silence. This was why they had, for many months, been ignoring you so assiduously. They had buried you. In their hearts, you had already died. Damn! Your eerie dreams notwithstanding, you sleep more comfortably than you had anticipated. When you awake the following morning to the sweet chirping of birdsong, you feel well rested, albeit woozy. Your head is aching. It is nothing, however, that a cup of hot tea cannot fix. You stumble into the kitchen in your nightclothes, your hair loose and your feet bare, and the gravedigger turns to you. She looks at your face, which is pasty, and your under eyes, which are dark, and exclaims in the manner of one accustomed to solving problems, not complaining about them. "Oh, you look awful. I think you need something warm to drink, and maybe you need something to eat, too. Let me get started on breakfast." And that is exactly what she does. She gets started on breakfast, which proves to be quite the simple affair. Nothing like the luxurious food you were accustomed to in your past life. The bread is hard enough to break your teeth on, and the cheese is a bit too strong. I wonder how long ago the bullying was. Like, is that what we were running from, or... It is food all the same, though, and you do not complain. Your stomach was beginning to grumble. Oh, ad start in a minute. Your stomach was beginning to grumble. The tea is inoffensive, at least, and you drink it gratefully. You thank the gravedigger girl for her hospitality, and she smiles at you in return, a sunny smile like a field of blooming bellflowers. It's no problem. Don't hesitate to ask me if you need anything else, she says, words which come to symbolize your relationship. You are running from a contract you made with a dark forest woman. Why she gotta be dark, Jim? No, I'm joking. I'm just kidding. You stay with the gravedigger for many, many more days, and limited through her means might be, she always tries to help you. The gravedigger sets your chores about the house to keep you occupied, a fact for which you are grateful. You need to do something to keep your mind off your frantic flight through the forest. You can almost forget about it now during the day. During the night, however, it returns to you, the sound of your feet against the foliage, and the swirling fog. When you sleep, you are assailed by nightmares. Sometimes you wake after midnight, the sheets twisted around your body, and your mouth gaping open in a paroxysm of terror. Though you try to tell yourself otherwise, you are still afraid. Being with the gravedigger makes you feel less so, though, particularly when you are sweeping the floor or keeping an eye on the bread loaves so they do not burn. You attend to most of the domestic chores, while the gravedigger concerns herself with the work she knows best, that is, digging graves. Her dogged persistence when it comes to this pursuit intrigues you, so much so that you cannot help but pose it a question to her on one particular morning when the sky is festooned with clouds. Why, you ask her, perhaps a touch insensitively, do you continue to dig graves? There is nobody left, after all, to dig them for. You have always been practical, and you cannot see the point to it. What's the point in it? The gravedigger ponders while holding her precious shovel to her chest. Her shovel looks broken as fuck. Fortunately, she does not seem upset by your question, despite its bluntness. You should count yourself lucky her temperament is so very placid. I don't suppose there's any point to it really, the gravedigger eventually says with a small smile. I know it doesn't have any practical purpose, but... well, digging graves is what my father did. He showed me how to do it so I could continue his legacy. My father wanted to keep our family tradition going, and I suppose I want to do the same. That's all there is to it, really. That's all, is it? You think you can understand that. Though your companion's actions might appear to be illogical, there is a kernel of reason nestled amongst them. She does not dig graves out of any sense of purpose. She does it instead out of sentiment. Besides, I have to do something to keep myself busy, don't I? If I spent my days idling all on my own, I think I'd go mad. The gravedigger laughs at this, as though the prospect of her own madness is amusing. That reminds me that I never posted Alice Madness Returns. I was supposed to edit it over Christmas, and it is now February. Her laugh, despite her slender stature, is not particularly delicate. It reminds you, perhaps unkindly, of the braying of a horse. Damn. You are ashamed of thinking such a thing, though, and your face flushes with the guilt of it. We cannot all be well-bred young ladies, you know? Still, the laughter of the gravedigger as it echoes through the gray, gloomy sky is strangely desperate. It sounds forced. Her smile, too, is a touch unnatural, the rictus grin of a corpse. You find, despite your attempts to return her laughter with a polite giggle, that you cannot. You cannot help but pity her. We are so mean to her. And we still don't know her name. You retreat indoors briefly after your talk with the gravedigger, then set about some simple chores. The gravedigger trusts you well enough to manage sweeping the floor, a task which does not take particularly long, and the preparing of the meals, a task which takes slightly longer. It is not until much later, however, once the sun has already sunk beneath the horizon and the moon is high in the sky, that the gravedigger returns from the outdoors. She is windswept after many hours spent exposed to the elements, and there is dirt caked beneath her fingernails. The gravedigger removes her cloak, which she hangs by the door, then looks at the pot suspended over the fire, a fire which you stoked with your own fair hands. The scent of cooking food, that of garlic and onions, fills the air, suffusing the interior of the kitchen in a honey aroma which makes your stomach rumble. Taking stock of this, the gravedigger smiles at you, a toothy smile which, despite her status as a lowly peasant, is surprisingly clean and bright and white. I don't understand us. Thank you so much, dear one. There's nothing like returning home after a hard day's work to find dinner already prepared. Now, let me give it a test. So this is our new wife, I guess. The gravedigger dips a spoon into the soup, then brings it to her lips. She blows upon it. Then she places the spoon into her mouth, the wooden utensil clacking against her teeth. You observe this with a touch of anxiety. Will she like the food which you have prepared for her? You have cooked for her before in the past, and she was always very complimentary of your efforts. Cooking is not your forte, however. You never had to concern yourself with it, really, growing up in the relative comfort as you did. You think that you enjoy this rural, rustic mode of existence more than you did any of the privileges of your past life. At least now, with a gravedigger, you have a steadfast friend, a staunch ally. When you are with her, you are not alone, and that is worth its weight in gold. The gravedigger exclaims, after drawing the spoon from her lips, her smile a bright, guileless one. It's delicious. Your face flushes at this compliment. You are unaccustomed to receiving them, and it makes you feel good. Shyly, you ask the gravedigger if she truly means that, a query which makes the gravedigger smile. Of course I mean it. You've become quite good at cooking, really. That is a relief. You are not very good at all of this cooking malarkey in the beginning. You did not know how to handle a knife, nor how to peel a vegetable, and you cut yourself more than once. You bled into the soup on several occasions, but never once did you throw this sullied soup out. Oh. That reminds me, in 5th grade, it was Thanksgiving. And so my 5th grade teacher made all of us prepare like dishes, like so that the next day we would have like dinner in class, right? And then after that it'd be like Thanksgiving break. And so I was on carrot duty. Me and 2 other girls, we had to peel the carrots. And so I was peeling carrots. I was peeling so many fucking carrots. I was so zoned in. I sliced my thumb with the carrot peeler, and I bled so hard. I bled through like 3 different band-aids. It was crazy. And genuinely, we never found the piece of like skin that I cut off. We have no idea where it went. And so my friends were like, oh, it must have gotten the carrots. And the next day, I didn't go to the dinner. I skipped school that day. And so I have no idea if anyone ever found it, if they just thought it was a carrot and ate it. It haunts me. It's so funny though, because why the fuck did my 5th grade teacher have us in there cutting carrots like that? With no supervision, mind you. She was sitting at her desk. Like, I don't even know what she was doing. Watching YouTube or something. Anyway. The gravedigger lives a humble existence, and she cannot afford to waste her precious ingredients. So we just fed our wife blood soup. Not that I can talk, given what I just told you guys, but... Your soups during your stay have all been seasoned with the slightest hint of iron. Today's soup, however, is a marked step above all the rest. You do not cut yourself with a knife even once. Maybe your companion's compliments are not empty fluff. Maybe you really are improving. This soup should be ready to serve. I have some bread too that we can eat with, but oh, I should brew some tea too. Let me. Ah yes, the tea. You knew that you were forgetting something. You were so focused on the soup, it must have slipped your mind. Your face flushes yet again at this oversight, and shyly you offer to correct it. The gravedigger, however, waves your request aside. No, it's alright. You made the dinner, so I'll brew the tea. It's only fair, and it won't take all that long. Would you mind serving up the soup while I'm busy? Of course you would not mind. You do enjoy making yourself useful. For a lady, you are awfully domestic. I don't know if I'm reading into that line too much. You work alongside the gravedigger to finish your nightly meal, and together you serve it, soup and bread alongside 2 cups of piping hot tea, prepared by your hostess's own 2 hands. What's y'all's favorite tea? I really like dandelion tea, but it does not taste good unless you have like a shit ton of honey and sugar in it. Maybe it's just the kind I buy, but it's kind of bitter. You sit together at the table, then partake in the simple fare after saying grace. The soup really is quite good, despite it being made from only the most commonplace of ingredients. There's a bit of a kick to it, and it warms you from the inside out. The tea, meanwhile, is very soothing, so much so it makes you feel rather sleepy. You would like to sit with the gravedigger for a little while longer and tell stories, as you have sometimes in the past, that or play cards. The nights are long, and there is no better way to pass them than spending time with her. Games of Old Maid, alas, will have to wait. You are too tired for it. You do not know what has happened, but after consuming your victuals, you feel utterly fatigued. You explain your predicament to the gravedigger between your yawns, and she nods in response. That's alright, you don't need to stay up with me. Not if you ain't up to it. You should head off to bed and rest that pretty head of yours. I cannot believe we're married now, chat. She's such a good... she's the husband and I'm the wife. You do not think you are particularly pretty, but you presume that the gravedigger is just regurgitating a phrase to you. She does not truly mean it. Girl, stand up. How could she? She is far prettier than you are. You thank the gravedigger for her understanding, then rise from the table. You retreat to the spare bedroom on trembling legs, then change out of your clothes. You have only just slid into your nightgown when you hear the rapping of knuckles upon your door, light and unobtrusive. This rapping could, of course, belong to but one person. It is the gravedigger, come to check up on you. I'm sorry, the gravedigger says, her voice soft, but you rushed to your room so soon after eating, I couldn't help but worry about you. Would you mind if I took a look at you? I just want to see if you're alright. Is this Yuri, chat? Is this actually Yuri? I was kind of joking. I mean, I know it's lesbian, but like, I thought it would be a completely different person that we're going to be scissoring with. The gravedigger is trying to keep her voice steady, but you can hear it wavering regardless. She really does sound concerned, so much so she could very well be on the brink of tears. You do not want her to cry for you. You would feel horribly guilty if you upset her, even inadvertently, given all that she has done for you. You bid the gravedigger entreat into your room, therefore, without further delay, an invitation she hastens to take. The door swings inward with a creak, and there your hostess stands, still attired in black, her clothes a stark contrast to your pure white, well, off-white, nightgown. The gravedigger looks at you, seated in bed with your hair freed from your usual braids, and exhales. Is that relief, you wonder, playing about her face? But why? What was she expecting to see, exactly, before entering your bedchamber? Thank you for letting me in, the gravedigger says, toying with her fingers. How do you feel? Oh, she thinks we have the plague. Not too terrible, you reassure her. There are no particular problems with your health. You just feel tired. Are you sure you're not sick? Your face does look a bit pale. That would be nothing out of the norm. You are always pale. Cannot relate. I'm black. True. Now, is there anything I can do for you? Would you like something warm to drink? Or maybe a hot brick to place in your bed? It should keep you warm. You appreciate your hostess's thoughtfulness, but you reassure her that this won't be necessary. You'll be fine. I hope so. I thought that about my father, too, before the gravedigger begins, but her voice soon trails off. She does not finish that thought. She does not need to. You know now what she was thinking of before she entered your bedroom. Cold, clammy skin, a sweating brow, rank oozing pustules. You think upon these symptoms, which are eerily similar to those recounted during the Great Plague which one beset your own country, and you shudder. If you don't want anything, then I'll be on my way, the gravedigger says. But before that, this was just a fancy on my part, but I was wondering, would you mind if I brushed your hair for a little while? Yo! My wife! Your hair? That's right, it's such a pretty shade of red is all. I just thought, well, it's just a fancy, really. You don't have to let me. Not if you don't want to. But I thought it might help you relax if you're feeling under the weather. I've heard it's supposed to be soothing. That is what the gravedigger says, but you have the distinct feeling that she is the one looking for solace here. She is not quite so selfless, perhaps, as she would like you to think. But she has been so very good to you, and has done so very much for you, that you do not want to begrudge her this small self-indulgence. You rather think she deserves it. You agree, therefore, to her request, and upon doing so, you are certain that you have made the right choice. Your hostess's face lights up immediately, in a manner which makes you blush. Oh, thank you. It'd be my honor. Now, let me fetch my brush. This color palette, it just hit me. The color palette of this game really reminds me of Katawa Shoujo, if anybody's ever played it. It's like... how do I say this? It's... it's that one visual novel about the girls with disabilities. I feel like it has the same kind of pinkish color. Like the logo is a heart. And I swear this is the exact same, like, pink gradient it has. The gravedigger retreats from your room in a hurry, but returns soon thereafter, holding in her right hand the promised brush. This artifact acquired, the gravedigger then settles herself upon your bed by your side. She looks at your hair for a few moments, her expression pensive. Then she announces that she will begin. The gravedigger leans in. The wooden frame of the bed creaks under her weight, a creak which melts with the sighing of the breeze outdoors. You can feel the bristles of the brush running through your hair. It is soothing enough, so much so it makes you shiver. The sensation is a pleasant one, and somewhat nostalgic. Did your mother do this for you, you wonder, when you were a little girl? If she did, it must have been when you were a very little girl. You have not seen your mother in quite some time, not after you enrolled at the conservatoire. Oh, you have such lovely hair, dear one. It's soft, just like silk. Not at all like mine. Mine is so coarse. Bitch, me too. This gentle voice draws you out of your vague, half-formed reminiscence. It sounds as though the gravedigger is lost in nostalgia of her own, because her voice, when next she speaks, is dreamy. I think my mother used to brush my hair like this, for me, back when she was still alive. I think. That must have been a long time ago, though. It is funny, you think, as the bristles of the brush continue to slide through your tresses, that you and the gravedigger should both be reminiscing in tandem about your respective mothers. Perhaps there is something maternal in the act of brushing one's hair, which is wont to summoning forth such images. I would not know, personally. I cannot remember my own mother at all. I don't think I liked having my hair brushed very much, the gravedigger continues, her breath warm against the exposed nape of your neck. That's erotic. My mother used to complain that I squirmed too much. I can remember that. She always told me to sit still, though it wasn't my fault I squirmed. She used too much force. The way I was talking to my mom about this the other day, because all throughout middle school and high school, I had the same exact hairstyle, and it was a slicked back bun. Like, slicked back. And so every morning, I would sit down in front of my mom, and she would take a big old glob of gel and smear it across my head, like down to the forehead, all the way up to the bun. And she would brush through it. And so, like, it's the cold, wet gel mixing with the, like, crispy dried gel, and like the new gel would rehydrate the old one, so it wouldn't look crispy, but it would feel awful. The texture of it is so awful, and that's why to this day I don't use gel in my hair. I can't stand the texture anymore. Also, it's cold. Like, you had to walk to the bus stop at like 6 in the morning, and like the fucking ice cold air is freezing my hair straight. Now this is curious. It sounds as though the reminiscences of the gravedigger are not particularly fond after all. Did she not get along well with her mother? I can't rightly say, the gravedigger replies, in a somber sort of voice. I was young, like I said, when she died. I really don't remember her too well. But I don't think she ever had that much time for me. She was too busy with all the cooking and the cleaning. Oh, and looking after my baby brothers. But she had time enough, despite that, to brush your hair. She did what she felt she had to make me look presentable. Not that it really worked. I wasn't like the other girls in the village, you see, who like to sit indoors with their mothers and sew. I've always loved the outdoors. When I was in gymnastics, there'd be so much hairspray in one gym that we'd legit be worried if a parent tried to smoke inside. Oh shit. I really believe that. Gymnastics and like dance, scary. My hair would be able to basically stay in a ponytail even after I took a bath. the hairband. Exactly the same. Like half part of it is like my hair texture, but genuinely the amount of gel, it's like a well-starched pair of jeans. That shit stood up. It did not fold. I'm glad you're free now. You gotta plaster that shit down. Exactly. God, I do not miss those days. Like, that's also why I don't like it when my mom is like doing my hair these days. Cause she's always asking me to do it. And I'm like, absolutely not. And so she shaved my head once and she was so sad because she was like, your hair is so long. Are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I can do it if it's upsetting you. And she was like, no, I want to do it. I don't know. Maybe it's just a mom thing. Yeah. My father said I inherited that from him. Ruefully, the gravedigger smiled, not that you can see it with your back facing her. My mother said I wasn't very, well, maidenly. She didn't like that I always traipsed around outside after my father, watching as he dug graves. She said it wasn't appropriate, like I was some sort of princess wearing a fine dress. The gravedigger snorts. Hold on, I need some water. I used to get a bit muddy, yes, and maybe I did get burrs in my clothes and knots in my hair, but it shouldn't have mattered. It's not like I ever had any hopes of marrying a prince, no matter what my mother said. But still, she hoped. She had lots of hopes, my mother. High hopes. We've got high hopes. Sorry. I think she might have resented my father, maybe, for working such a menial job. Our profession is an honest one, but it's never made much money. I think my mother was hoping for fine jewels and dresses and, oh, I don't know. She always had ideas. Her head was full of fairy tales. It was a shame, I suppose, that her reality didn't match up to what she wanted. I didn't match up to what she wanted. The bitterness in your friend's voice is unmistakable. So much so, you want to console her. I mean, also a culture thing. Hair has less significance when you're a basic white chick with lifeless hair. That's fair. You know, I try not to speak on white people hair. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I do wish my hair was naturally straight. Mildly related to that. But yeah. That's why my mom always wants my hair to look neat and stuff, because she doesn't want people to call me, like, ghetto. But she uses a different word, if you catch my drift. That's also why she doesn't really like natural hair. Like, she likes it, but it has to be a specific style of natural hair, and my hair texture is not that style. Not that she doesn't like my natural hair, she just wishes I would use, like, gel and like, heavy products and stuff, so that it looked, like, slick and not, like, frizzy and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, not that I'm mad at her for that. Set your hair free, baby. Exactly. I don't think she'll hate my hairstyle now. For context, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm like starting locks, so they're starter locks, and they kind of go every which way. It's like a bush on my head, especially because I haven't retwisted it in a while. Yeah. That feels very 80s. I don't know. Yeah, my mom just likes the slick look. Like my sister. My sister also likes it. I like looking at it, but I don't like having to go through it. That's a lot of work. Anyway. The bitterness in your friend's voice is... Oh yeah, the fact that I said friend, I was so taken aback because I completely forgot that she's not our wife. In my head, this is my wife right now. What would you say to her, though? You never met your companion's mother. You never will, either. Her cold, inert body has been lying in the graveyard, buried beneath a tombstone for over a decade. I have a question. Is it bad to burn bodies? Like, is that bad for the environment? Like, I know probably the smoke is bad, but, like, is the runoff bad? Like, is it bad to burn, like, plagued bodies and stuff? It looks good on your sister, but she has those vibes. You've got cutesy, wild, and free vibes. Set it free. Thank you, Chabby. I do like that kind of vibe. It's not bad for the environment, but it can spread disease, I think. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's how COVID spread. Just kidding. You have no way of ascertaining whether your companion's mother truly cared for her. You do have intelligence enough, however, to understand that poorly thought out condolences can cause more harm than good. You would not like it if people tried to reassure you that, of course, your father loved you really. If he loved you, then why did he send you away from home? Why did he never send you any letters? You know, he was worried about his finances, but that seems a poor excuse to pretend that his only daughter did not exist. As for your own mother, meanwhile, she was nice, at least you think she was, but she was woefully ineffectual. Though she was nominally an adult, she always cleaved before your father's judgment. You think that she was afraid of him. You do not try to tell the gravedigger, therefore, that her mother loved her, that she must have done, else she would not have given birth to her. Instead, you sit there, letting the brush run through your hair, and you say quietly that you understand. Sometimes you feel like a disappointment yourself. This game is so real for that. Well, the gravedigger says after a pause, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I guess it happens to all of us. You guess so. Parents are only people, after all. While one would hope one's parents would be kind and attentive, they too can fall victim to caprices of their own. Just because one has brought a child into this world, it does not mean one will be able to take care of it properly. Real! Not all parents are responsible, just as not all people are responsible. It is a painful subject. Oh well, it's alright if my mother never liked me, or even if she never loved me. I know my father did, and that's all that matters. He was always there for me, no matter what. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. She winces. At least until he wasn't. He died, and I didn't do a thing to help him. Your companion's shoulders begin to shake. You still cannot see her, but you can feel her body convulsing. You can sense her loneliness rolling off her in waves. It is all-consuming like the waters of a deep, dark ocean. Grief anew pierces your heart, not on your behalf, but for the sake of your benefactress. Your wife! Your wife! She does not deserve to suffer so much. This you have no qualms with telling her. You turn to face her and pluck the brush, which has been hovering in the air, inert, from her fingers. Then you let her know that her father's death was not her fault. What could she have done? She could not have cured his illness. I know, but I can't help but think, what if? I keep racking my head over and over, trying to come up with something. But I can't think of anything, and even if I could, it's too late. He's already dead. He's dead and buried. I buried him, and now I'm all alone. She might have been alone, you tell the gravedigger, but she isn't now, not anymore. How can she be when you are there? I know that. I know, and I'm grateful, but I don't know if I deserve it. Why would she not deserve your company? You do not understand. Because I couldn't do nothing for nobody. My father always looked out for me when I was a little girl, but when he needed me most, I failed him. I failed everyone. This is so sad. I'm so sad right now. All of the villagers, all of my friends, all died. What would I do if the same thing happened to you? I don't think I could bear it. I don't want you getting sick too. Not when I care about you so much. My wife! My wife! I thought I'd gotten used to being on my own, but now that you're here, it's making me worry all over again. I've been worrying so much I can't sleep from it. I'm scared. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. Then she collapses in on herself. She leans forward, her arms wound about her middle as if to steady herself, and she cries. She cries and she cries and she cries. For a few moments, you look at the gravedigger, unsure of what to do. Her pale face, streaked with silvery tears, seems to flicker in the candlelight. Her shoulders, which seem too slender to bear the accumulative weight of all the sorrows she has endured, are shaking. Your fatigue continues to cling to you, and insistent fog whistles amongst the tombstones in the graveyard at night. You are not so very tired, however, you cannot offer your hostess some comfort. You do not know what you can say to console her. You feel too weary to think of pretty sophisms. But there is something you can think of. You would not typically be so bold, of course, but you are tired enough, for once, to throw caution to the wind. That and the tears of the gravedigger are awfully arresting. My wife! You open your arms and, before the gravedigger can pass comment, you pull her to your chest. Oh. A soft exclamation escapes the lips of the gravedigger, quieter than the sound of wintry snow as it brushes the ground. Then there is nothing. The gravedigger is stiff in your arms for a few moments, like the corpses she and her father used to steal away inside their wooden coffins. That's inappropriate. She is all wide eyes and awkward, pointed elbows, tears still coursing down her pale cheeks. You worry briefly as you hold her that you have perhaps made a mistake. Were your attempts at consoling her too clumsy? You would not know. You have never been in a situation like this before. You have never consoled any friends before because you have never had any friends to console. It is not so now, however. You are as far away from your old life as it is possible to be, and the gravedigger does not curse you for your impudence. Neither does she try to squirm away from you. Instead, she sits there, still as a statue, cradled in your arms. Oh, I'm very sorry to show you something so embarrassing. It's just I get so lonely sometimes. Until, at long last, with a breathy sob, she lets the full weight of her body fall against yours. You run your hands against your sobbing companion's shoulder blades and her back, and gently you soothe her. You tell her that she does not need to apologize. There is no shame in crying. You hug her for many, many minutes while she sobs against your chest, wetting the front of your nightgown. No further words pass between you that night, but they do not need to. Words are irrelevant in a moment as tender as this, shared between two souls who have come to understand one another through mutual loneliness. It's love. It's love, chat. You slide beneath your sheets, you still feel exhausted, and the gravedigger joins you without asking for permission. It would be an unnecessary piece of politeness, really, given your acceptance is all but assured. You have already accepted the gravedigger, after all, every single inch of her. Hello? You have accepted her hospitality. You have accepted her food. Now you are accepting her company. You arrange yourself beneath the sheets, then draw her body to yours. The gravedigger has not yet changed into her nightwear. Her clothes will be horribly rumpled when she awakes come the following morning, her head resting against your chest. But tomorrow has ceased to matter. It no longer exists. There is no concept of time between the two of you. No thought of the day which will dawn once this night inevitably ends. Instead, there is only the warmth shared between you and the wetness on the cheeks of the gravedigger. There is the sound, irregular now and less intense than before, of your companion's muted, muffled sobs. There is just this gentle, tender moment snatched in the midst of a deep, dark night which can never be replaced. Gay, affectionate. This is so gay. Also, not to ruin the moment, where's my cannibalism? I was promised cannibalism. Your eyelids feel heavy, as though weighted down with stones. They droop inexorably. Inexorably? They droop inexorably downwards, pulling you, like a drowning maiden, into the dark, impenetrable abyss of slumber. You yawn. Then you fall asleep, cozied up beside the gravedigger like two cats in a basket. You sleep and you sleep and you sleep, more deeply than you have allowed yourself in quite some time. But when you awake, you find that you are no longer in the bed upon which you slept in, shrouded by sheets. The gravedigger, too, is nowhere to be seen. Maybe it's now. You're so right. Instead, you are quite alone, lying by yourself in the dark. You blink, but your surroundings do not become any clearer. Is it the middle of the night? Perhaps you were roused from your slumber by the desire to relieve yourself, or else to slake your thirst. Your sleep has been awfully disordered as of late, and the smallest of noises have been enough to disturb you. That does not sound quite right, though. You slept well, of that you are certain. Your body feels invigorated, as though it has slumbered for hours and hours. How many hours? You do not know. Am I dead? You do not know much of anything. Oh. Dog, what are you doing? You scared me. Hi, chat. My dog says hi. Say hi. Say hi, Diamond. Say hi. She says hi. You're in a grave. That's what I'm saying. Buried alive. You can feel a strange pinching sensation around your chest, however, and around your arms. It would appear as though somebody, but who else could it have been save the gravedigger, changed your attire while you were sleeping? She's been waiting a long time to bury another person. You're so right for that, Jim. That is a startling thought, but the darkness which entombs you is even more so. The darkness which surrounds you is unsettlingly complete. It is so thick you cannot penetrate it. That's what she said. Your newfound woes do not stop, however, at this deep, unnatural darkness. It is cold, too, and you are lying upon something hard, some sort of stone slab. What is going on? You reach out, but your movements are soon stymied. There is something heavy lying atop you, something that is limiting your movements. You were anxious before upon awaking, but at this discovery you feel downright aggrieved. A sharp prong of panic pierces you, but you try to suppress it. Hysterics will get you nowhere. In most cases, they only tend to make bad situations even worse. You ought to know that already. You swallow your mounting dread as best you can, though it is coming on thick and fast, and try to squirm. You move your arms outwards, but they do not get very far. There is a wall above you and walls on either side of you, walls which do not budge no matter how hard you push. OMG, love the outfit, Slay Hun. Thank you. Thanks. You know, I've been waiting so long to debut this outfit. I'll show my other one later also, in case anyone wants to see it. Also, welcome in. Thank you for coming. Not, I must add, that you can push particularly hard, your anxious state notwithstanding. You have never had much in the way of upper body strength, nor lower body strength. Me too, girl. You do not have much in the way of strength at all. You feel quite helpless as you lie there, out of breath from your meager exertions, unsure of what you should do. You can hardly see a foot in front of your face. You do not know where you are, nor why, but a terrible premonition is beginning to bear down upon you, one which, initially, you tried to discard. You did not want to accept it as a possibility, but where else could the truth lie? You are lying in a box, hemmed in by walls which offer only a scant few inches for you to stretch in any direction. Where else could you be but a coffin? The moment you allow yourself to ponder this awful reality is the moment you hear it. The irregular sound of drumming. Hello? It is as though somebody, though they must be a very large somebody, is tapping their fingertips upon the lid of your coffin. That, or it is raining. It is not the fingers of a giantess, though, which is disturbing you, nor is it falling rain. It is dirt. The sound continues on and on, as though it is drilling its way inside your skull. It is relentless. It is merciless. Like the ticking of a great celestial clock, it cannot be stopped. Your time is almost running out. But you knew that already, didn't you, when you were running through the forest? You ought to have known, silly thing, that you could not outpace your destiny forever. Sooner or later, it would catch up with you. You are stubborn, though, and you do not want to accept this. Not content to simply lie there, you cry out. You cry not for your parents, whom you hardly knew, nor for your school friends, for you never had any. Instead, you cry out for your new companion, the girl with whom you have been living, and with whom you shared one precious, cherished moment. You cry out for the gravedigger. Surely this is some manner of mistake. Once she realizes that you are, in fact, entombed in one of the coffins she is currently filling, or who else will be moving the dirt above you, she will cease her operations at once. She will pull you out of the darkness, back into the world of the living, and then she will hold you close. She will embrace you. She cannot mean to cause you any harm, not when she was so good to you and so kind. Why would she bury you? You cry to her so loudly you fear your vocal cords might tear, all while banging against the roof of your compact prison. I am so invested right now. You cry desperately, helplessly, and, to your relief, your cries do not fall upon deaf ears. The sound of the falling soil stops, albeit briefly. Then you hear a voice. The voice is very faint, given it's being filtered through your coffin's sturdy lid, but you recognize it. So, you're awake then, are you, dear one? The gravedigger says. She sighs. Then, she says in a perplexed sort of voice, "Now that is a pickle. I was hoping you'd be asleep a couple hours more, so the last time we spoke could have been on better terms. If you keep screaming like that, I'm going to feel bad." Your companion's words, though distant, are unmistakable. You are so tense, you are tuned to every single syllable, and each of them makes you gasp. Was this not a mistake then? Does she truly mean to bury you alive? You posit this question to the gravedigger as best you can, trying to keep the tremors from your voice as you do so. Perhaps you think in your optimism that if you do not let her know how afraid you are, she will reward you for your bravery and let you go. If this is what you are hoping, though, it is in vain. That's right, you really do catch on quick. So it would appear she really has committed to the task of burying you. What an unfortunate turn of events. No shit. Why, though, would she do such a thing? You thought that she was your friend. We are friends, the gravedigger says, her voice still worryingly offhand, worryingly empty. I'm very fond of you. There's nobody dearer to me than you. I've had a really good time with you these last... how long's it been again? I don't remember. Neither do you. Well, if this little detail has slipped both of your minds, it can't be all that important. You have other things to worry about. If you really are friends, you say to the gravedigger, then what does she hope to gain by burying you? You do not understand. But you understand her reply even less. Well, here's the thing, the gravedigger says, in a reasonable sort of voice, as though burying somebody alive could ever be thought of as a reasonable action. I've been digging graves for a long time, see? You cannot see. It is too dark, but you affirm that you do all the same. Well, I was digging all those graves, but I have not had anybody to put in them, not for ages. It was rather sad. Jim, you fucking called it. You think you know where this train of logic, twisted though it is, might be going, so you do not interrupt her. You know no good would come of it. All you can do, for the present, is lie there and listen. I was thinking I'd never find another person to bury in this godforsaken village, not after the plague messed everything up. I was getting desperate. Until you came along, that is. Now that I have somebody I can bury, I'm not going to let the opportunity pass me by. I'm sorry, but this is just part of my job. It's what my father taught me to do. It's all I know how to do. I buried my mother and I buried my father. I buried all of my friends. Now I'm going to bury you too. So, like, were they actually plagued? Because she did mention the plague, but... So she just started burying people to bury them? It is sound logic, in a sense, as the daughter of a gravedigger, digging graves is her job, but something about it rankles you. If only you could put your finger on it. Ah, yes. There is a bit of flaw with her reasoning, is there not? You are not dead, after all. You might not be dead now, the gravedigger says, in response to your ingenuity, but you will be if given enough time. I mean, everybody else I've ever known's died. Who's to say you wouldn't be next? It seems rather more likely that you will die, and quickly, if she persists with her poorly thought-out plan to bury you. Your coffin is not very large. It affords you precious little space. Eventually, if trapped within it for long enough, you will run out of oxygen. Then you will suffocate. That, or you will starve to death. Either way, your demise will be a slow, painful one. You are unsure which death would be worse, though, given how precarious your situation is, you do not wish to expend the necessary energy needed to ponder it. You need to plead with the gravedigger, and quickly, while she is still here. You tell her tearfully that you would not leave her. Why would you? You try to sound as convincing as your disordered nerves will allow, but the gravedigger remains unmoved. You say that, she says, but how can I know you're telling the truth? Bitch! She tweaked out so fast! I thought you said you were a traveler. They never stay put in one place for long. You'd get sick of me before long, then you'd leave me. This way, at least, I can be assured that we'll always stay together. If I bury you like I did the others, we'll never be far apart. I even took care to put you in a nice spot, close to my home, so you're only a stone's throw away, really. Isn't that nice? Privately, you think that the gravedigger has a different conception of the word nice to you. You do not say this, however. You cannot say much of anything because the panic has begun to set in. It is choking you, stopping up your throat so you can only cry. You scream. You beg and you plead, but it does little good. The gravedigger has already buried her mother. She has already buried her little brothers. She has even buried her father, whom she loved above all else. She thinks by burying you, she is doing unto you an act of great kindness. You think that she is going to kill you. In a sense, you are both right. Your opinions are so diametrically opposed on this matter, however, that you will never be able to find any common ground. You might as well save your screaming. She will not listen to you. She is beyond listening. Shush, shush, dear one, says the gravedigger, very gently, just as gently as she spoke last night when she confided in all of your fears. It won't be so bad, really. Nothing will be able to hurt you down there. It'll be just like going to sleep for a really, really long time. You can rest, and while you rest, I'll tend to you. I'll plant flowers on your grave. You'd like that, wouldn't you? This way, we can always be together, and I'll never be lonely again. This is crazy. While the gravedigger speaks, she begins to pile even more soil onto the roof of your coffin. The sound of dirt on top of you, on your arms, your legs, and your head, conceals your companion's final words. You cannot hear her. You cannot hear anything beyond the sounds of the dirt, and the scrapings of the shovel, and your own desperate, frantic screams. You scream and you scream and you scream without cease until your throat feels hoarse, but your efforts are in vain. You hammer on the lid of the coffin with as much strength as you can muster, but the lid of the coffin is nailed shut. You are in no position to remove it. All you can do is lie there, screaming and crying and banging your fists on the roof of the coffin over and over as more dirt and debris falls on top of you. My question is, how the fuck did we sleep through her changing our outfit, putting us in a coffin, nailing the coffin shut, and then dragging the coffin into a grave, throwing us into the hole? Like, all of that. We slept through all this shit. All you can do is lie there, screaming and crying and banging your fist on the roof of the coffin over and over as more dirt and debris falls on top of you. Eventually, enough dirt falls on you to stifle your screams for good. Did she drug you? Maybe. But, like, when did she drug me? Maybe with a tea? The gravedigger can no longer hear you, and you can no longer hear her. You are all alone, trapped in a narrow wooden box, which, regardless of what you want, is now your new home. You can smell the soil in the backs of your nostrils when you inhale. Yup, why make tea when you're having soup? You're so right. This is crazy. This is crazy. We went from 0 to 100 in a span of 2 minutes. It is so potent, you can taste it on your tongue. I genuinely thought we were about to have, like, a very tender, like, sexy moment. Next thing I know, buried alive. And that's why I'm a virgin to this day. It is so potent, you can taste it on your tongue. You can taste the eventual, inevitable decay of your own body. You will remain trapped here, underground, forever and ever. Or, to use less melodramatic terms, until the last of your energy escapes you and you succumb to your own slow suffocation. It isn't a very pleasant way to go, but you'll forgive me if my sympathy is limited. You did bring this upon yourself, you know? You reap what you sow, and in your case, you made a series of bad decisions which led to your untimely demise. Now, what do you want to do? What the fuck did I do? Will you accept this fate of yours and rest in peace, or will you try to fight against it? Should I accept my fate or fight against your fate? Bitch, get me the fuck out of this coffin! Are you not happy with the hand that fate has dealt you? Very well, I cannot blame you. It is quite a grim ending. I would not wish it upon my worst enemy, and you are rather dearer to me than that. Now, why don't we give this another go? Just try not to be buried alive this time. I can only endure so much of your screaming. Your fate is once again in your hands. Now I wonder, which path will you take? Oh! Okay. That's crazy. Huh. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that at all. What's up, bitch? Hey, Emmett, what's up? Welcome in. You just missed us being buried alive. Very cinematic. That was really cool. I might play this again next time. I don't think I have it in me to play another hour of this. It's a very large vocabulary, and my vocabulary is quite mid, unfortunately. I think next time though we should go to the castle, because I swear to God there's like a vampire lesbian in this game, but I might be lying to your fucking face. Oh, take a sip. Worm, you promise? Okay, wait, let me look it up real quick. Okay, I lied to you. But there is cannibalism. So, a win's a win. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. Oh. The way your mood 180. Okay. I already saved it. Okay, we're gonna do this next time because that was great. That was really fun. I saved it, right? Yeah, I did. What a great game to play for Valentine's Day. Does it get gayer? It does get gayer. Let me show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all. Hold on a second. Let me, hold on. Hold on. Hold on a second. Quit. Quit. Are you gonna quit the game? What is happening? Okay. Look at this. Yeah, is the person who eats you gay? Because that counts. I'm sure hoping so. Look at this. This is gay. Like, it's morbid, but it's gay. Ayo, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is who I thought was gonna fuck us, but then we got the Gravedigger lady. Boing. And we love it. Let's go. Okay, so this is what we just got. Oh, okay, and if we go to the shore, I guess there's like a mermaid. Okay. So next time we're getting the princess, and then there's the mermaid. We love Yuri in this fucking house. Let's fucking go, chat. Hell yeah.